took on a couple mentees,
Mhm.
and I really enjoyed sharing the knowledge. And it's not necessarily just because this worked for me, it will work for you, but it's sometimes also just to say you're not alone in your struggle. Everybody kind of went through something like this, right?
Thank you for joining us today. We're excited you're here to meet the author of today's book. Welcome to Digital Book Nook's Meet the Author show, where you can discover your next great book. With your host, D.G. Thomas. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to today's Meet the Author show. If you've recently experienced a job loss, or you are considering changing the possibility of changing your career, the book we are about to discuss today is for you. So I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest author, Olivia von Holt, who is here to discuss her book, The Reward of Risk: Embracing Confidence in Your Career. Olivia von Holt is an accomplished businesswoman and entrepreneur focusing on personal development and mentorship of young professionals. Her distinctive fusion of European and American cultural perspectives has profoundly impacted Olivia's professional trajectory. She has extensive experience in various industries and multiple business sectors. In addition to being recognized on the prestigious 30 Under 30 list, Olivia received the Woman Owned Business Award. Her extraordinary leadership and entrepreneurial character are reflected in these honors. While not her initial intention, Olivia accidentally entered the realm of authorship as a mentee. I inspired her to document her knowledge. She started to think, who is mentoring whom now? Her writing focuses on inspiration to an emerging group of professionals to share advice she wishes she had gotten earlier in her career. Olivia's journey is a testament to the power of experience, mentorship, and the courage to embrace new paths. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our author today, Olivia. Olivia, welcome to the Meet the Author show.
Thank you so much, Dee. I'm grateful to be here.
Oh, great. So your book is really very timely. I think everybody is always concerned about their career, but particularly in today's economy and job market, and with the introduction of AI technology. And even you yourself had an experience that you talk about in the beginning of the book where you experienced a layoff. And so I just want to start with what inspired you to write this book?
Great question, and it's really been a long time in the process, I would say. So the book starts off with me getting my first layoff. I was late, I think it was late teens, 18, 19. Um, my first job, and it was funny because for some reason I was a little naive at the time, and I thought this was going to be my forever job, right? um and I received the phone call into somebody's office, and it was a Friday afternoon. It was we have to let you go, downsizing, those kind of things. And it was really mind-opening to me, and for me, my world broke down at that point. I didn't know. I felt like a failure, and it was very humbling as well as terrifying at the same time, right? Where am I going to pay my bills?
Right.
So I always remembered that moment. And I think that's when, throughout my career, where I have become an entrepreneur and then joined the corporate life again, and I've been kind of balancing both left and right. Um, and it really has stuck with me because it made me think, what could I have done to either cope with it or to go from there, right?
Right. Okay. So how about can you tell us about your book, The Reward of Risk: embracing confidence in your career. And I kind of went through that so fast. So let me go back and show the cover again. But just tell
Alright.
us a little bit about what it's about and what readers can find inside the book.
So I'm a very advocate note taker throughout most of my career, right? So if
Mhm.
it's sticky notes, if it's notebooks, if it's, digital notes to myself, those kind of things. And throughout I would say the last 15 years, I took on a couple mentees,
Mhm.
and I really enjoyed sharing the knowledge. You know, and it's not necessarily just because this worked for me, it will work for you, but it's sometimes also just to say you're not alone in your struggle. Everybody kind of went through something like this, right? So so really what happened was started collecting all these notes after one of my mentees said, some of these are really great, helpful. You really should put these in a book. And this
Mhm.
is really how this book came along. Honestly, I didn't see myself becoming a writer. Um, but it was something where I said, I think I have everything already written down. It was just a matter of adding it and, refining it into a book.
Right.
And that's really where the collection of, The Reward of Risk came along. My favorite chapter of all of it is probably the 4th chapter, which is his core skills.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just skills that I wish somebody would have told me when I started off, that these are the things that, can help you in your career when you start joining the working force.
Right. So you discuss that you're a mentor, and why do you think that mentorship is important? And at what point in a person's career do you think they should seek out the guidance of a mentor?
I think you're never too old or too young to ask for a mentor. And the reason I am so enthusiastic about mentorship is because I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the mentors who mentored me.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't even know you can just ask somebody, hey, do you want to be my mentor? I really like what you're doing here. Can you just, can I just buy you a cup of coffee?
Hmm.
Can we just meet once a quarter for half an hour? And it doesn't have to be a lot of time, right?
Right.
Um, and it's also just once you really see that your mentees are, getting a raise or starting a new career and are happy, you really get this euphoria from it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's where most of my mentors, I think my very first mentor, I was probably 23, when somebody said, "Oh, do you have any mentors?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know you could," right?
Mhm. Right.
So, so I really started looking into it, and then if I meet somebody at a conference, I'll ask them,
Hmm.
would you be interested in, a very minor mentorship? Doesn't have to be something big,
Right.
but learning should be never ending. You're never done with something,
Mhm.
so it's very evolving, and I think that's really where the love for mentorship came along for me.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I think one of the greatest challenges is that people say that you need a mentor, but how to actually get one, I don't think a lot of people ever really tell you like how that comes about. I know that some employers and some professional organizations offer that opportunity, but to just to go and ask someone who is, I guess, on the professional trajectory that you like to see yourself on, or whose professional experience that you value, to just ask them if they can mentor. I never actually just thought about just asking, which seems so simple, right?
And it's also in your personal life. That was something that I never thought about, right? I mean, we always talk about mentorship in terms of, your career, but
Right.
if I struggle with finances and I know one of my best friends is really good with money, why
Yeah.
wouldn't I ask for some advice, right?
Very true.
Um, so it's really trying to broaden your horizon
Yeah.
for all of it. So
Definitely. Okay. So, so in your view, how has the landscape of professional development and entrepreneurship changed in recent years? And how does your book address these changes?
I think some of the things that really have gone skyrocket, I want to say, is more of the digital transformation, right? We have the AI, we have the process automation, the things that now scares a lot of people, in terms of, can this take my job? Can this do my job?
Mhm.
Um and I think I'm one of the and I don't think I'm one of the few people. I think there's a good amount of us that thinks this is more of a growth mindset, where what can it do for you? And the other day I had a meeting with one of my mentees, and she changed her background, and it said, don't be worried that AI will take your job. A person that knows AI will take your job.
Mm,
And I really enjoyed it,
mm,
and because it is true, yes, computers are incredibly smart.
mm,
However, you still need to be a person behind it to tell it what to do, right?
right.
ChatGPT is only so good, or the image generating is only so good as your imagination can tell
Mhm.
the software what to do.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's the other part with, personal branding, coming kind of to that one.
mm,
It's the thing that never really was a career step, I want to say, or a career need. But now you have, companies looking at your social media accounts and
mhm.
looking what you're standing for. And
Definitely.
so social branding is very, very important, of who you are and what you do. And just, and if you don't want to share, you can set your things to private too. It's okay.
Right,
You don't have to, but just be aware of it, kind of thing, right?
right.
So yeah, so I think with the way AI is going, I'm excited. And one of the books that really, and this is a even older book, it's by Tim Ferriss. It's the 4 Hour Work Week.
Mhm,
It was one of my biggest inspirations. I read it in my mid-20s, I want to say. And he really goes into how you can manage your life and your career with, I don't want to say minimal work, but it's the work smarter, not harder kind of attitude, right? And that's where AI is now coming in. It
mhm,
can schedule it looks at your entire schedule and makes a perfect calendar of when you are the most productive and those
mhm.
kind of things, right? So why wouldn't you take advantage of it?
Right. It is amazing. Chat GPT is amazing, and what it can do. And I do think, and I agree that you most definitely want to learn that technology and be afraid of the person who really knows how to harness the power of that technology more so than the technology itself. However, I did see, I've seen an article or two with some freelancers that said, particularly in freelance writing, and they were saying how they had lost one of their biggest clients because of Chat GPT. That the client had started replacing the work they did with
Mhm.
Chat GPT, and they were just kind of trying it out, but increasingly they were using it more and more and paying him less and less. And so, do you think there may be the potential of some job loss in some sectors? I mean, sometimes with the introduction of technology, there is some potential job loss. And if so, like, how can a person prepare themselves for job loss?
I think, yes, there's definitely always two sides of the coin, correct? I mean, but it was also the same thing when, I mean, when computers came along, right? And it's always going to be a learning curve, and strategically, it is proven that, there is some fall off from that, where, some people might lose their job. However, there's also now so much more information on the internet,
Mm,
with YouTube alone. You can learn everything, anything you want. um So if you say, okay, maybe I want to learn a little bit more about it, if they decided to outsource it, maybe I can be a freelancer for them
Mhm,
still by helping them out, right?
mhm,
And I
right.
have done that in my career as well, where the company wasn't sure if they were going to do layoffs. So I said, what if I just be a freelancer,
Mm,
And that actually opened me up to now work with other companies to
mm,
then build my own portfolio and all, next thing I know, 5 years later, and I had a company going.
mhm,
So so sometimes you just don't know why it happens.
yeah,
And throughout the book, I was trying to really be hopeful and be the motivating voice in the background that says, yes, things happened. We all have been there, right?
right.
It's the where do you go from here? And it's okay to have a day of crying and,
Mhm,
eat chocolate and sit on the couch. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
It's the, okay, now what can I do to do it next? And if you
right.
decide you're really good at something, hey, this is my strength, you can go and be a freelancer for something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so really we're kind of talking about possibly a change in the future of work, the
yes.
way we work.
And
Kind of like it reminds me of the gig economy where we just where you're working like based upon the work you're doing, not the time that you're sitting in a
exactly.
space. So yeah,
Yes,
an
and I
evolution,
think the working remotely has really put
definitely.
this on steroids, I wanna say, right?
Right.
Like, we really went very quick to, "Oh, if I can do this in 3 hours," and
Mhm,
employers have gone the same way, right? Where they
right.
say, "Okay, this should take you 3 hours." Well, if I
Mhm,
can finish it in half an hour, should I be punished for not, you know, using the full 3 hours, or can I use the rest of the hours for myself, right?
true. Very true.
So, and that's what in myself started the entrepreneurial mindset, where all of a sudden you
Mhm,
go, where can I change my process of things I do on a day-to-day basis
mhm.
to really figure out what, makes me happy and get the most out of my work life, my personal life, and, my overall happiness too.
Yeah, and I think that's what, especially after the pandemic, we're all really kind of seeking this work-life balance,
Mhm.
and happiness where we can have both. We can have a career, but still, really be able to enjoy our lives and pursue our own personal interests as well. So, very true,
Agree.
very interesting. I'm going to shift a little bit to writing. Okay, so how do you balance the insights gained from your corporate experience with the entrepreneurial spirit in your writing?
Um, Really, it's speaking of balance, right? I mean, finding the balance for yourself, and everybody's balance is a little bit different, right? For
Mhm,
myself, when I turn my computer off, it is off.
mhm,
You cannot get a hold of me. I have a hard stop at a certain point,
mhm.
and that is
Great.
it. Um, it took me a lot of years to
Mm,
learn that,
yeah.
especially throughout the pandemic, right? When
Mhm,
everybody was working
mhm,
very, very late and very early days,
yeah,
because we're now working in different time zones, and
mhm,
it's so it felt like you always had to be available,
mhm.
and personally, I said, I felt like I was working so much more, and
Yes.
and I was, I
Mm,
was really doing between 11, 12-hour days.
mhm.
And I said, this is not sustainable, right?
No.
So about midway through the pandemic, I really started to say, okay, I'm going to try to turn off my computer, and then I would go to a yoga class, right? And I
Mhm.
would just do something that was the reward for myself at
Right.
the end of something, where I said,
Mhm,
I sit down and I read a couple pages of a book, just fully away from technology, you know. And sometimes it didn't work out. I scrolled on
mhm.
my phone, and that's okay too, right? So, but it was something I did for myself, and it's learning that balance of, where are you transforming between, or finding that transformation between the corporate, the entrepreneurship, right? Corporate is more of a, you wear one hat all the time
Mm-hmm.
versus entrepreneurship, you have multiple hats all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and I think what really helped me through it was the learning mindset, and I think that goes kind of back to what we originally talked about with the mentorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're open to learning, there's a pretty good chance that you have a much better mindset and adaptation going forward because of, solving problems easier and those kind of things.
Right.
So, and I guess in terms of my writing challenges, it was definitely, like I said, because I was not I normally either read fiction or I read some sort of business books, but I normally switch it up between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I always heard about writer's block, right? And I was like, what
Mm-hmm.
is it? Does it really exist?
It exists.
Um,
Yeah.
exactly. It definitely exists. I can
Oh,
attest to that.
yes.
And so what I learned, I did the outline for the book, which really
Mhm.
helped me focus of
Definitely.
where I need to go and what needs to be done. And I had the one chapter which was a skill chapter because that was the one I had the most information on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my grounding chapter. If I felt like I was stuck, I could go back to that chapter and kind of just write a little bit here and there to get something done and then go back to the original part
Mm-hmm.
where I was stuck on, right?
Right.
So it really helped me ground myself in terms of going back to the writing. um and yeah, there was definitely, because it was individual little short chapters that were not
Mhm.
connected, so you can just focus on one skill right now and then that's all you have to do, right?
Yeah, that's great. So, are you working on any other projects, and what's next for you as an author?
Um, what's next for me? I have some more ideas.
Mhm.
So there might be future work coming. As of right now, because it is a self-published book, I took a crash course in publishing. Let's just
Oh,
say that.
yeah. Mm-hmm. You
So,
learn everything when you self-publish. Yeah.
right. And at this point I'm excited. Reading the reviews and some of the
Mhm.
feedbacks I have received so far is really giving me more the enthusiasm to say maybe I should do another one, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's definitely been an interesting journey so far and a very humbling one, I want to say,
Mm.
as well. So who knows? I think there's going to be more. We'll see, and yeah.
That's wonderful. And thank you so much for being on the show today and to share all these insights about mentorship and AI and just the whole changing of our the way we work and really just thinking about how we work. And I think our listeners today can really gain valuable insight from your book and to learn more about what they can do with their own careers. I'm going to show the book again. It is available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble and on Kobo. This is the book cover, The Reward of Risk, Embracing Confidence in Your Career. And thank you again, Olivia, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dee. It was a pleasure.
All right. And I'd like to remind everyone to come and visit the blog, the Digital Booklet blog, to read the rest of Olivia's insightful interview about her journey as a writer and about the book and to learn more. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.